I'm Isabella, and today I'm interviewing my grandpa, Bill Arland. Okay, the first question is, what is your name?
You want my full name or what I go by?
Both.
Well, my full name is William Joseph Arland III. I go by Bill.
Okay, where and when were you born?
What and what? I'm sorry?
Where and when were you born?
Okay, I was born in Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia on July 7th, 1944.
Was your family affected by the Depression?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Was your family affected by the Depression?
My family, my parents both lived through the Depression, yes. So anybody who lived through the Depression was affected by it.
Yes. Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in an Army family. My dad was in the Army, so we moved virtually all over the world. So I lived in Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. I lived in Des Moines, Iowa. I lived in Bremen, Germany. I lived in Hanover, Germany. I lived in Fort Carson, Colorado. I lived in Châtellerault, France, and back again to Colorado Springs, Colorado, which is where Fort Carson is. I think that's the only places I grew up.
What are some of your favorite childhood memories?
Well, hard to say. Some of them are not many childhood memories. We were on the move a lot. And it was a pretty strict family, so we didn't have, we had good times traveling and stuff. Those were probably the best memories I had.
Do you have any siblings, and where are you in the sibling lineup?
Well, I have two sisters. They're both younger, Denise and Donette. Denise is 5 years younger than I am, and Donette's 7 years younger than I am.
What chores did you do around the house?
When I was growing up, anything my parents told me I would to do, but it included trash, included making dinner for my younger sisters when both parents were working. It included dishwashing. I was the dishwasher, and my younger sister Donette cleared the table, and Denise dried. I had bathroom duty on Saturdays, and I used to do the windows and the screens, and we do those about once a month. Mow the lawn, take out the trash, that sort of stuff.
Did you celebrate holidays in your family? If so, how?
Well, we celebrated holidays. I think everybody celebrates holidays one way or another. Even when they don't celebrate them, that's a celebration. But it usually centered around meals for the most part. And the big holidays were Thanksgiving and Christmas. New Year's was a big holiday because we were Roman Catholics, and the Feast of the Epiphany is somewhere around there. That was a big holiday for my mom, so we celebrated that. We would celebrate the other, major holidays like Memorial Day, Labor Day, and July the 4th, generally with cookouts or picnics and things like that. We didn't travel for pleasure a lot. We traveled for moving a lot.
What did your parents do for a living?
My dad was a career Army Master Sergeant, and my mother was a beautician.
What was your neighborhood like?
My what?
Your neighborhood?
Well, I had so many, they were all very different,
Yeah.
but I would guess that most commonly it was just what was called then a middle class neighborhood, lower middle class, small houses. Our house was it was the same size as everybody else's, but they were small houses and small yards and stuff.
What did you like and dislike about elementary school?
I don't even know if I can remember that. I don't know. I have pretty. I guess the likes of elementary school were. I went to elementary school and we had grades 1 through 11, and we were in 4 rooms. So there were 4 rooms for the classes. So our classes, you could listen into the other kids' other higher grades classes, and I enjoyed that because if I'd move right along, because there were only like 5 or 6 kids in the class where I grew up. So what I disliked about it is I went to Catholic school once for 2 weeks, and I was asked to leave for obvious reasons, but and so I didn't like that. I didn't like that experience at all.
What did you do in your spare time when you were in elementary school?
Well, sports was always a big part, but we didn't have not organized sports. I didn't play any organized sports until I was in high school. But that seems to be the big thing. Bike riding, to and from the sporting events, but then engaging in pickup games, either whether it was basketball or football or baseball, which was the big thing. That's what we did. Then I read a lot. I had a series of books that I gave to you and Diego. Those classic books. I read those books a lot. Well, we went through some stuff earlier, but in addition to that, one of the things I always liked was I liked building model airplanes. Yeah, that was a big thing for me.
Oh, cool. How did your relationship with your parents change when you became a teenager?
Oh God. You obviously did not grow up in a military family. It didn't change at all. As long as you're in my house, it's my rules, and it was real strict, so it didn't change very much at all.
What were your favorite and least favorite subjects in high school?
Say again, I didn't hear that.
What were your favorite and least favorite subjects in high school?
Well, the favorite subjects was a class we called civics. I don't even know if they teach that now, but it's about governments and ranging from development of democracy and ancient Greece and stuff. And that was one of my favorites. I enjoyed that always. Probably why I became a lawyer. I liked math quite a bit. We did because I liked the logical sequence of it and everything. My least favorite was probably physics and chemistry, the sciences. Although I did like biology quite a bit, and I liked physics, but they were probably my least favorite.
Me too. Was it okay for girls to be smart at your high school?
Oh yeah, the valedictorian, or one of the graduating class was a girl. That wasn't that big a deal. Of course, there were only 49 of us, so you had to be friends with everybody.
Did you have any jobs when you were a teenager?
Yeah.
What were they?
Well, I carried out trash cans in my neighborhood to the street. We didn't have them on wheels at the time. You had to carry them out. I picked up dog poop for the officers' quarters. All the officers that had their dogs there. I shined officers' shoes for inspection, and my dad's shoes. I had a paper route. I was a dishwasher at a cafe. I was a gas station attendant. I worked construction as I got older in my junior and senior years in high school, and my freshman and sophomore years in college.
Who were your friends when you were a teenager, and what did you do together?
Say again, I'm sorry?
Who were your friends when you were a teenager, and what did you do together?
Well, friends was always an issue. There wasn't too much because we moved around quite a bit. So just general things. Sports was a big center part of it. In high school years, like dancing and going out with friends, just hanging out. That was always a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But going to, attending sporting events, whether you're playing in them or just watching.
Where did you go to college, and what did you study?
I went to the University of Colorado Boulder. I graduated in 1966 with a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and a minor in History and Psychology.
Cool. When and where did you and Carol meet, and what drew you to her?
When did we meet, and what was the second part?
What drew you to her?
What drew me to her? It's
Yeah.
kind of personal, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't have to answer it.
Yeah. Well, we met we were both in the Air Force, and we were stationed at Cam Bay, South Vietnam, and that's when we met. I arrived there in December of 1968, and Carol arrived there in June of 1969. And one of the good things was she always smiled. That was one of the attractions. And then she was a very good dancer. And so we, and we just had a lot in common. We talked a lot, spent a lot of time together when we weren't on opposing shifts and stuff. I'd say smile and laughter.
Did you serve in a war? If so, what do you remember from that experience?
Did I serve in a what?
A war? A war?
Oh, a war? Yes. Yes, I served in the Vietnam War. And I learned that it's bad and I don't want to do it again.
How was the experience bad, or what do you remember from serving?
Well, I got shot down from an airplane over North Vietnam, so that was pretty bad right there. That'd do it. But it was a lot of, it was very stressful, and it was, because I was in combat, so, it wasn't like I was just there watching the war. So that part was very stressful. And it was very, very long days, very arduous. And it was difficult at times to figure out what was the purpose of all of it. And sometimes very difficult to rationalize. It's not a fun thing. It's not the movies or games. It's not that at all. Not even close.
What were your children, Nicole and Bill, like when they were young? How have they changed and not changed?
Well, they were both good kids, I think, in the sense that they were very easygoing, especially Bill. He's still very easygoing. And they didn't seem to get rattled by too much. They didn't require a lot of discipline. They were always very inquisitive, both of them. They were very focused at times, both of them, on what they got. They kind of stayed focused and zeroed in on what it was they were doing. But they also, I think they acted and became more adults in the family, like, we were peers as opposed to, we were still the parents, and they knew where the line was. But we did a lot of things together, the four of us, and it was a lot of fun. For the most part, there were very few bad moments. Maybe a car accident or two, but other than that, it was it was generally a very good developing, and I'd say probably a respectful relationship. Carol and I always thought, like for instance, in the kids' rooms, we always knocked before we came into the rooms. Respected their space. By the same token, you couldn't do anything you wanted in the room. There were rules, restrictions. So a little balance there, I thought.
What was most satisfying about raising children, and what was most difficult?
Most satisfying about what?
Raising children.
Well, watching them grow up and become individuals is the most satisfying and gratifying part of it. Well, the most difficult is letting them do that.
What family traditions did you try to establish?
Well, I think probably one of the strong ones was respect for people and respect for diversity, and that there are different folks and different ways to do things. And we always tried to do that by example as well as by talking. Our traditions were we tried to spend, and still do, the major holidays together. We did a lot of activities together. We went skiing a couple of times a year. We'd go, not camping, but up fishing with kids, and then we'd go on vacations. And we tried to do that. But I think most of it was just trying to spend times together. And one of the things I think that we did, that because Carol worked and so did I, but we always tried to spend dinner together. And dinner was pretty nice because it was conversation. You could virtually talk about whatever you wanted to talk about. So. But you had to listen to everybody else.
What values did you try to raise in your children, to raise your children with, and how did you do this?
Respect for each other and other people, and did it mostly, I think, by example. You can say this is what we do, this is how we do it, and both of them were very good about that. I mean, we didn't have to do much guidance, I would say, more than anything. So it wasn't that being responsible for your own actions. If you do this, there are consequences. For example, if you provided transportation and you lose that transportation, then you have to do an alternate form of transportation on your own. If you succeed, you should enjoy the success and know that other people were there. And if you fail, you have to live with those consequences, and that's just life in general.
What is one of the most challenging things for you now?
Not going to work.
Well,
Every day.
I guess why is that hard for you? Why is that challenging?
What's that?
Why is that challenging for you?
Well, because I've worked since I was 13. I've always had a job, and always was striving for something, and you know, trying to become a pilot, and after the pilot, trying to become a lawyer, becoming a lawyer, then practicing law, and then it stops, and it's a difficult transition to make, especially when you're focused on stuff and driven on it. It's tough to do. But I'm getting better at it.
Okay, the last question is, what is one of the best things about life these days?
About life these days? Well, I'm getting to enjoy my time off a little bit better. That's kind of nice. And probably is watching, you know, my children develop, and then my grandkids, watch them develop. Some of them, I won't tell you which ones. But, you know, having success and maturing and developing, and that's very gratifying to watch. And being able to help them do that.
Thank you.